You're listening
I'm
to the
listening.
ProfAragon podcast.
You're listening? I don't get it. Hi, how you doing? Doing great? Glad to hear it. Jonathan Aragon here. If you're listening to this, then you're probably a student in one of my classes, and I'm sending this to you as an example of one of my past students' comedic storytelling sets. This student is Bertha Tobias. I think you'll enjoy it very much, and I hope it helps in some way.
All right. Up next, we have Bertha. She's black.
Thanks for the music, Jonathan. Hi, everybody. So, unlike Nate, I am obviously not a white man. In fact, I actually wanted to lead with the fact that I'm black tonight, just to, address the elephant in the room, just nip it in the bud. I found that in the US, there seems to be a lot of difficulty with talking about race. Like, you all are so scared. You're terrified of talking about race, and that's okay with good reason. Some people say some crazy things. In fact, I was talking to a professor the other day, and we were talking about race. He's American, so afraid of talking about race. And he said, Bertha, I think one of the reasons that people in the United States are so afraid of talking about race is really, it's a demographic anxiety. Yeah. And I thought to myself, what the fuck does that mean? Demographic anxiety, bitch? You mean racism? But it's okay. It's fine. I forgave him. So I'm from Namibia, small country in Southern Africa. So most people, when I say I'm from Namibia, pretend. I know nobody. Who knows where Namibia is? Be honest. Okay. Of course. So it's like 4 people, which is what I expected. Nobody knows where it is. But many times when I say I'm from Namibia, lots of Americans like to pretend and they go, oh my God, you're from Namibia? That's incredible. And I'm like, okay. I know you don't know where it is. But if you are curious, Namibia is to South Africa what Canada is to the US, okay? So we're inconsequential, nobody really cares or knows what we are. But because we're close to a sort of a popular neighboring country, that's kind of where we get all of our clout. But nobody really cares, that's okay. So I came to the United States in 2021 for college, and I'm having a fantastic time. I'm loving Claremont. But being an international student means that I'm constantly researching what things mean in everyday language. I recently had to Google, what is a hush puppy? Because someone said they wanted a hush puppy, and I'm like, is it a silent puppy? Do they have, are there puppies that, aren't hush? Are there talking puppies? What is a hush puppy? I found out what a hush puppy is. And then, who knows what a red eye is? A red eye? Yeah, you all are naughty. I did not know what a red eye is because it's not a universal term. I was talking to a friend who said, yeah, bro, I'm exhausted, I just caught a red eye, and, now I'm tired. And I'm thinking to myself, a red eye, conjunctivitis, a red eye, somebody punched them in the face, what the fuck is a red eye? And I had to be okay, so what's a red eye? And they said, well, it just means I caught an overnight flight. And I'm you could have just said you caught an overnight flight. But again, that's okay. The last thing I don't do as an international student is I don't go to Starbucks. I don't, because Americans are so good at ordering their coffee that I'm intimidated every single time I go into a Starbucks. You all need to tell us if you have a national Starbucks order induction training day, because everyone just knows what they want, and it's this really long, complicated list. I'm impressed, but I'm also intimidated. That's why I don't go. True story. Because there'll always be some random Starbucks expert in the front of the line going, excuse me, hi, I'll have the venti half-calf triple shot, a caramel macchiato with oat milk, a little bit of spice, but not too much spice, and some cinnamon and some unicorn tears, please. Thank you so much. And I'm kind of just thinking like, I just want coffee, bro. So I don't go to Starbucks. But when I got to the US, before I got to the US, there were 3 things I knew about America. One was Hollywood, obviously. Hollywood sign, party in the USA, Miley Cyrus, LAX. I knew about mac and cheese. Don't ask me how I knew about mac and cheese, I just did. And I knew about racism, right? And so obviously I wasn't afraid of the first 2, but I was terrified of racism. So I thought to myself, okay, how am I going to protect myself when I get to the US? And obviously my school, like many other institutions, have these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which are great. But listen, I have nothing against DEI initiatives. I mean, I do. I'm about to talk about it right now. But my specific problem with it is it's not a practical, everyday solution to racism. You know what I mean? If I was standing in the shop and somebody was racially profiling me, or if one of my classmates were asking me if I went to school on a camel, you know, I can't call my DENI coordinator and be like, someone's being racist. I don't have them on speed dial. So I needed a solution that was more immediate, that I could use every day. So I decided to get a white friend. Because I knew I could use my white friend's privilege to insulate myself from racism. That for me sounded very practical. So I got the whitest friend I could find. So I could use her white privilege, you know what I mean? And look, love her to bits. You know, that's my baby girl, I love her. But this bitch is white. Like she's as white, like I'm talking blonde hair, blue eyes, like her dad is English, her mom is American, she loves doing yoga, she eats salads, she was sad when the queen died, like she's white, okay? Her name's Freya, love her to bits, but also like a name like Freya, like I'm sorry, it doesn't get whiter than that. So Freya's incredible, love her. But the moment I think we both realized how race in America works was this one time where we went to the Hub, which is like CMC's version of a cafe. CMC is where I go to school. So we went to the Hub and I needed to get some chapstick. Freya and I had just grabbed dinner. So we walk into the Hub and I'm like, okay, cool, let me grab my chapstick. And she's like, okay, let's go, like grab the chapstick, let's go. And I was like, no, I have to pay for it first. And she's like, girl, nobody, like, you don't have to pay for it. You just go. Now, I'm standing there and I'm like, did you just say I don't have to pay for it? And she's like, yeah, like nobody's watching. I do it all the time. Like just do it for shits and giggles. Nobody's gonna watch you. Let's go. And first of all, I'm having 2 thoughts. One, I'm like, could we just take stuff this entire time? But the second thought, I knew you had to pay for it. So I'm like, look, because she said nobody's looking, right? And I'm like, yeah, because you're white. Like I'm a black woman with dreadlocks that come all the way up to my ass. Someone's always looking at me a little funny. And she's like, oh my God, you're right, you're so right. Like, they're not gonna look at me because I'm white and you're not. It's like demographic anxiety. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. So that's the first thing. The second time I realized I really needed to keep Freya around to use her for her white privilege was when I crossed the road. You know how like as students, or just like in general, you have to cross the road. Now, white people in the room won't understand this, people of color might, but when you're a person of color, you go through the world with a certain level of self-preservation. You always think someone's kind of trying to kill you. I know, it sounds irrational, but this is America. I wouldn't put anything past racist Americans. So whenever I'm crossing the road, I'm always afraid that someone's gonna run me over. I know I sound crazy, but it's true. Black people get it. So I'm always afraid that like a racist person who's having a bad day is gonna run me over. So I try to find the closest white person who's crossing the street so I can walk next to them. I mean, it doesn't always work. Like if I'm in a hurry and I'm late and I can't find a white person, then I kind of just, have to walk to like a brown person, But so I try to find the closest white person, and it's always hilarious. You can see the different comfort levels of just like how we're crossing the road. So the white guy usually crosses the road and he looks something like this. And when I cross the road, it usually looks something like this. I'm so sorry, I'm about to cross. That's usually what it looks like when I cross the road. And I find that difference so stark and so hilarious. So, all that to say that I think I've solved racism in America is get a white friend. But specifically, here's an institutional solution. I would make an app. And I'd call it, don't steal my idea because it's a good idea. I'd call it Uber Whites. And that is where this is where it's a marketplace. Hear me out. It's a marketplace to connect white people who want to use their privilege for good every day, and black people and or people of color who need white people to make life easier, which is like life. So you would rent a white person when you're in a situation where you need racial privilege. So if you want free chapstick, Uber Whites. You want to get a loan from the bank, Uber Whites. You want to cross the road, Uber Whites. You want the police to not arrest you, Uber Whites. So you would just rent a white person so black people and other people of color don't have to struggle so much, and white people can actually use their white privilege for good. There you go. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing.
Please make some noise for our next comedian, storyteller. It's Bertha, and she's black.
Hey. And I did ask Charlotte to introduce me as black, so she was not being politically incorrect. It's okay. I'm seeing some people tell, oh, did she just say she's black? Yes. It's okay. It's fine. So my name is Bertha, and I'm from Namibia, which is, I know many of you don't know where that is. That's okay too. You don't have to pretend. It is close to South Africa. But I'm about to tell you about how I discovered that I have black privilege that is directly tied to how guilty white people feel about racism. So this might get a little awkward because there are a lot of white people in here, but that's okay, it's gonna be fine. I find that people are very afraid of talking about race in the United States. Everyone gets so tense and so worked up, and that's okay, as we should be. Boo, I'm just kidding. That's fine. Anyways, so I'm from Namibia, right? And people don't know where that is. So every time I say it, somebody usually goes, oh, you're from Namibia? That's like so incredible. What? And I'm secretly like, shut up, Becky. I know you don't know where Namibia is, you know. Anyways, I have had to derive all of my insights about white people from the United States because in Namibia, white people mind their own business, so we don't really cross paths. So I've had to study whiteness here in America. And I have summarized it to 3 key points, right? Are you guys ready? So one, I found that there's a holy trinity, which is yoga, hiking, and pickleball, right? So that is the first point, is all white people love either yoga, hiking, pickleball, or all of the above. That's thing one. The second thing is that y'all love gluten-free food. So much so that you could have a salad for dinner, which baffles me, because a salad, where I come from, is usually like the side that you put on your plate, so that you look like you care about your greens, but you never really eat it. But yeah, you guys seem to love your salads. I can respect that. The third thing, though, which I'm about to talk about tonight, is that white people are very afraid of like awkwardness. Oh my God, this is so awkward. Oh my God, like I'm so awkward. And the only thing that you're more afraid of than awkwardness is being called racist. And this is where I discovered that I have black privilege, okay? So I go to one of the Claremont colleges, and on specific days, I have to take a class so I have to take 2 classes that are like 10 minutes apart, but they're all the way on the other ends of the campuses. So for a little bit of context, imagine it's like walking from Pomona, walking all the way to Harvey Mudd, right? So Harvey Mudd is where my second class is. So I am leaving my Pomona class, and I have to rush over to my Harvey Mudd class. So I'm always late to my Harvey Mudd class, and that's okay. So I get there, I'm super tired, obviously, and any college student knows that nobody likes to sit closest to the professor, right? So there's 2 seats left that are open in the Harvey Mudd class, and I go to the seat that is least closest to the professor's table, right? So there's 2, right? Imagine these are the 2 seats, right? Imagine this is the professor's table. So I go to that seat over there. So there's this seat open. So I'm sitting there minding my business. I'm tired from thinking about all the politics of whiteness. I'm tired from all the fake smiley thing that white people do. You know that like when you're walking and they go. So I'm tired, right? So I'm tired. I'm having a day. I just want to get through the day. So I sit down, and then this big white athlete dude walks in, who's obviously later than I am, so he obviously has to take the open seat that is closest to the professor. But he walks over to me and he goes, yo, could you move? And I go, no, just walk over me, just go. And then he goes, no, but if you move, it's gonna be easier for both of us, so you can just move. And I'm sitting down and I'm like, bro, you can just move, I don't wanna get up. But at this point, it's becoming a little bit awkward because the professor is teaching, and I don't want to be the aggressive, sassy black woman who's causing a scene in the front of the class, because how many times have we heard that before? So I was like, you know what, I'll just move, I don't care, whatever. So I get up, I pack my stuff. The only thought in my mind at that point is, well, that was a little rude. But I sit down, and I move, and that's okay. And then 10 minutes later, someone in class raises his hand, and he goes, a different person. He goes, that was rude. I just want to acknowledge that that wasn't right. We all saw that. He just asked her to move from her seat, and she just like had to move. Are we just gonna let that go? Now you guys have to understand, I'm just trying to get through the day. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know if it's racially motivated. I don't care. It's a Tuesday. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna have for lunch. But this dude is so invested in being an ally, so invested in standing up for me. He gives like a whole Martin Luther King speech about how it's not right. So I'm sitting there like, and he's trying to give me my Rosa Parks moment or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm having this conundrum in my brain where it's like, on the one hand, I genuinely don't care, I just want to get through this class. But on the other hand, he just stuck his neck out for me, you know what I mean? So then the athlete dude says, oh, sorry, do you want your seat back? I did not want the seat back, but because I didn't want to embarrass this dude, I said, yes. So I got my seat back. I mean, it felt kind of nice. I was like, are they fighting for me? Oh, that's really nice. So I got my seat back. I get into the seat that I don't really care about, and the class ends, and I'm thinking, okay, this is done. This is great. That was a little bit weird. I continue with my life, right? The following morning, I get an email from the professor, and he says, hi, Bertha. I hope you're good. I just wanted to acknowledge what happened yesterday, and I wanted to make sure that the dynamics are inclusive for everybody. Do you feel safe? Do you feel welcome? We've really appreciated all of your contributions, so I just want to make sure that you feel safe. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, he spoke, he obviously thinks it was a racial experience, but he just said this whole thing without ever mentioning the word black or race. And I thought that's such an interesting and fluffy way to talk about race. But I respond and I'm like, no, like I'm good, bro. Like, don't worry about it. Like, we're good. I'm not gonna drop the class. We're fine. And then he asks us to meet, right? Do you want to meet? Yeah, sure, whatever. And then I go and we meet, and then, you know, in the meeting, he just, Bertha, I just want to make sure that the dynamics are inclusive. Like, are you okay? Like, am I missing something about, like, the dynamics, the interactions, the power dynamics? It's so, so I'm like, okay, do you think that I think that he asked me to move from my seat because I'm black? And he just straight up malfunctions, and he just goes, well, that's not really what I'm saying. I mean, it could be what I'm saying, but like, well, that's not really, I'm not trying to put any words in your mouth, I'm just saying that like, that could be, right? That's not what I'm saying. Okay. So I do not think it happened because I was black. I think it would have happened to anybody.
Thank you so much for listening. I've been Jonathan Aragon, and you have been amazing. You can leave now.